Yo, it's me, it's this COTT baby, and I'm back with my review 2017 film Spider-Man Homecoming, starring Tom Holland, Robert Downey Jr., and is directed by John Watts. This was big because after Amazing Spider-Man 2 bombed at the box office, even though I don't think it's that bad. Hold on. There you go. Put that in there. Popcorn bucket there. Anyway, so after Amazing Spider-Man bombed at the box office, even though I don't think that was that bad of a movie, instead of just continuing on and making another film and trying to make it better, they decided, screw it, we're going to cut a deal. This is being Sony. We're going to cut a deal with Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige to produce our own Spider-Man film within the MCU. This gave them a deal where Spider-Man would appear in 3 to 4 films, technically. Well, no, 5 films, if you think about it. A 5-film deal where he would appear in Captain America Civil War, Spider-Man Homecoming, 2 Avengers films, and a Spider-Man Homecoming sequel. That's the 5. And after he appeared in Civil War, Tom Holland started spreading all this thing, even before that, saying in interviews that the kid that Iron Man saved in Iron Man 2 was actually a young Peter Parker. I mean, it fits. I mean, it's basically retconning, but it fits, seeing as the Stark Expo was in Queens. So, it fits, but I feel like it's just retconning stuff. In fact, I don't even mention it in the films. So, if it was canon, they would have mentioned it. It makes sense that they would have Iron Man in this film. And, you know, as sort of a mentor, he brought him in Civil War, so he would be a mentor in this film. I do like how they done this. I was iffy on it first when I heard about it. Like, oh, he's going to be in high school. So it's the Spectacular Spider-Man. Okay. They got Ned Leeds, who I guess in the comics is the Hobgoblin. The Hobgoblin version I knew was Jason Philip McIndale. Jason McIndale version, which was voiced by Mark Hamill, was on the animated series. That's the version I grew up with. But there's different variations of superheroes in comic books, so you never know. But they don't say Ned's last name in this film, but I guess officially it is Ned Leeds, which people keep saying, oh, they want Ned Leeds to eventually become a Hobgoblin. Well, if they were planning on that, I don't think they would cast someone as, how do I put this, robust as Jacob Balatron. If they were planning on him to turn on Peter, I think they would have had someone who would be athletically inclined, someone not necessarily muscly, but not as, girthy. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to say he's fat. I'm just saying that, have you seen any kind of, the Kingpin is a fat villain. Don't get me wrong, they're fat villains. Kingpin, Doc Ock. People keep saying, I keep seeing posts in my Facebook groups about, oh, we want this person to play Norman Osborn, this person to play Doc Ock. We don't need versions of those characters. They've been giving us villains we've been wanting for a while. Vulture. In this film alone, we have Vulture, 2 versions of Shocker, the Tinker, and even Scorpion. Mac Gargan, but still. And then sequel, we get Mysterio, of course we know, but it's just, we don't need villains we've seen before. Like, even in Amazing Spider-Man 2, they were redoing Green Goblin, which I don't think we needed. We could have had other characters Oscorp. You got Harry Osborn. You could have Norman Osborn, but don't make them, Green Goblin. I think a perfect Spider-Man movie would be a Spider-Man movie where Spider-Man's already established, like this, but he's an adult. Have him be an adult. Like, people keep saying, oh, what happened to Peter's parents? He's with his aunt. They're dead. In every variation, they're dead. No matter what they've done, they're dead. Even in the Tobey Maguire version, we don't get an explanation of what happened to his parents. They're dead. Every variation of Peter's parents, they're dead. I know they tried something different with Amazing Spider-Man, and originally Peter's dad was supposed to still be alive, and that would have been alright for that version. But in every variation, they're dead. So, even in the blooper reel I watched after this, he's like, my parents are dead. But it was a blooper. But yeah, casting Tom Holland, he was 19 when he was cast. He was 21 by the time this film came out. And having a younger Spider-Man, I think it works. I mean, if you want to do this, yeah. So then you have other characters. Well, Marvel has its own way of doing things. So you have Ned, which is his new best friend, which could be Harry, but it's not Harry. It's Ned. His love interest is named Liz. And I know there's been versions of Liz that are African-American, including this version, and I've seen animated versions where she's African-American. But there was a Liz, I don't know if it's the same Liz, but in the animated series it was a Liz. She was white, and she was blonde, and that's what I thought this character was going to be, and then she was African-American, and I'm like, okay. And then I watched the Marvel's Spider-Man with Drake Bell does the voice. And she was African American. Okay, I see what they're doing. They did, because they did it with Nick Fury where they changed the race. So that's fine. That's fine. To a certain extent, that you want to have characters change. We'll get to Thor Ragnarok because there's another character that was changed racially, but I'm not against it by any means, but just try to stick more to comic book characters. You have, because I'm pretty sure Ned Leeds wasn't, that Asian, Mexican, Balaton? I don't know. I'm not trying to, I'm just saying. And I do think having Iron Man in this film, okay, because this is Spider-Man's first solo film. If you just put him out there on his own, maybe he needs like a little access to the rest of the MCU, and an Iron Man there is kind of like connection. And even in the next one, you have Happy, so he's not all on his own. You know what I mean? I do think we needed one where Doctor Strange is involved, because that's what I wanted to see. Because when they said, a different Avenger will be with him in the second film, and I'm thinking, okay, or bring in Doctor Strange. Which would have fit, seeing as, the final parts of Infinity War and an Endgame. But then you have Nick Fury. And, I'm not going to ruin the twist on that, but Nick Fury. Okay, I get it. But Doctor Strange would work. His Sanctum Sanctorum is at least one of them is in New York, so. So the story here. Spider-Man, Homecoming. It's Homecoming not just because there was a Homecoming dance, but because it's Spider-Man's homecoming. He's coming back. He's coming to the MCU. He's coming home. Stuff like that. The idea of the Vulture went back as far as Sam Raimi's attempted fourth film. Spider-Man 4 was going to have the Vulture, but there was a lot of things that were going to change in it. Like, Felicia Hardy was going to be introduced because she was going to be the Vultress and not Black Cat, which was weird. And Marvel, having Adrian Toomes as this down-to-earth villain, people think that it's so groundbreaking that they did this with Adrian Toomes. Darren Cross from Ant-Man was a down-to-earth villain. He just wanted money. Here, yes, his money was greed. He just wanted more money to make more money. Here, Adrian Toomes wants the money for his family. That's the difference but they're still ground to earth villains. They're not about taking over the world. They just want to make money, right? That's all they're doing. Darren Cross, he was selling technology. Adrian Toomes, selling alien technology. This movie starts off, albeit incorrectly, saying that it's 8 years earlier when, no, it wasn't. It was 6 years earlier, after the Battle of New York in 2012. Actually, it's 5 years earlier, in 2012. And it's 8 years, but it was 5 years, of course. And you have them cleaning up when damage control, a previously unestablished thing, supposedly created by Tony Stark, shows up. We have not seen them any time before this or after, as a matter of fact. They're trying to set up their own TV show, but we've yet to see anything materialize out of it. And from what sounds of it, Marvel TV is going away anyway, so this whole thing was just pointless. And they come in and basically say, you can't have any of this. We are taking it. But they have a contract, but the contract has been taken up. I don't understand all this mumbo jumbo, but they basically say that whatever they have, according to Toomes, whatever they already have is theirs, and they're not going to give it to damage control. So they use this 5 years later. Yes, I'm saying 5, not 8 like the movie says, because it's wrong. 5 years later, they're using this to... The only inconsistency in this is that he has a drawing of the Avengers drawn by his daughter. Now, if your daughter is supposed to be 17, 5 years earlier is only 12. So... No, because... Okay, hold on. It'd be 15, because they're supposed to be freshmen, right, in this one? No, sophomore year, right? Because his last movie is supposed to be in his senior year, but I don't know how they're going to do that with the way they ended. But, okay, so sophomore would be 16. 16, so she would be 11 when she do the picture. The drawings, I'm not the best drawer myself, I'm okay. But the drawings that they show is someone like 5'6". So 8 years would work, and if you go by the drawing, but the timeline doesn't sync up with that at all. So I'm just saying, like, it's confusing. And you have the Tinker, or the Tinker, whatever you call him. You have two versions of Shocker, and the actual version, Herman Schultz, played by Bokeem Woodbine. And I can't complain about the race because, well, the animated version I've seen of Shocker always kept his costume on. So you could never tell whether or not he was African American or Caucasian. So I don't really care about that one. Cast anyone. You can cast a Chinese guy, you know what I mean? I don't care. For Shocker, you know, it doesn't matter. They don't have him completely covered up, and I was concerned because there was concept art that was leaked, whether it was official or not, that looked pretty cool, but they never really used a full costume. And that's what, sometimes I get angry. Sometimes they'll go and they'll have the costume and it'll look very accurate. Other times they'll just have the character go by his normal name and only a little bit of the character will be used. Like, was it, for instance, well, like the Mandarin, so to speak. Nah, that's not a good one. I don't know. Let me think. Well, Ego, I guess. Zemo is one. Zemo's supposed to have this purple costume, but supposedly he's gonna have in Falcon and Winter Soldier, but he only goes by the name Zemo, not Baron Zemo from the comics, and doesn't wear his costume. This is very the same for the Shocker. The Shocker is the nickname of the first one, played by Logan Marshall Green, and then he dies, but also the character he's playing is a different character who in the animated, in the Spectacular Spider-Man, had a cowboy hat. I don't remember the name, but it's supposed to be a different character. Was also the Shocker in the comics. But then the Herman Schultz version takes over, and he just wears the thing and the jacket that has the colors. But in the end, he never really goes by the name Shocker. It's just brought out once. I don't know. To me, I really wanted to see a full costume Shocker on the big screen, and what we got was kind of... Shocker's one of my favorite Spider-Man villains, to be honest. I always kind of like the costume. Yellow, the red... It's kind of like Spider-Man's costume. You think about it. It's yellow, but it's got the red lines on it instead of red with the black lines. So it's kind of interesting, you know? And then there's a black jacket, and I always thought it was kind of cool. And then we got, you know, I'm not going to complain about that. He wasn't really a complete villain to begin with. He was more of a henchman, which is alright for this film. We get introduced to Mac Gargan, and I was thinking, okay, he'll become a full villain in Spider-Man Far From Home. Not even mentioned. Even though we have the post-credit scene where he confronts Toomes and says, hey, I hear you know who Spider-Man is. Toomes says, if I knew who Spider-Man was, he'd already be dead. And he goes, well, I got some friends on the outside. We're very interested in know. Setting up the Insidious Six, or the Sinister Six. The Insidious Six is what was called in the show, but the Sinister Six, but we don't get anything. I hate when they tease us with stuff, and then we don't get it. They've teased us with stuff before, like this, and the second film was completely different from what they teased. Now, this could be setting up a third film, and from where the second film ends up, I could see it happening. If they don't go through with this, I'm probably going to be pissed, because I'm waiting to see the Sinister Six. They promised us the Sinister Six in Amazing Spider-Man 2, and we haven't gotten it because all they care about is money. And I'm sorry. They do all this fan service in movies, but at the end of the day, it's about making money. And I don't know if I mentioned this in my... The only reason why we didn't get Amazing Spider-Man 3 is because it didn't make what they wanted it to make. It still made a lot of money, but it's not what they wanted it to make. Because they thought, oh, Amazing Spider-Man made us a lot of money, so we need to make this much money for it to succeed. Because they say, oh, Amazing Spider-Man 2 is a bomb. 1, it's a good movie. 2, it made a lot of money because it didn't make as much money as they wanted it to make, because they were so greedy, they said, no, it failed, and moved on. They could have went on and made a third film, but because that Sony was greedy, and it didn't make what they wanted it to make exactly or more than, they decided it was a failure. And so they partnered with the MCU because this can make them a lot of money. Even though this deal, and that's the reason why after Far From Home, they're like, oh, we're not going to do this partnership anymore because they're not making as much money as they want. And they wanted like half of the money. And that's not what Feige and Marvel wants. They wanted like equal partnership. They want, but Sony wanted most of the, because they own the property, they wanted to make most of the money. That's where some people were going off during the deal on Marvel about how Marvel could make the deal. It was Sony. Sony just wanted to make more money off of Spider-Man than the MCU instead of going equal. Marvel wanted to keep their deal up. Sony just wanted more money. Eventually they settled on something because there's going to be a Spider-Man 3. There's going to be some kind of fourth film in the works. But it's greed. All Sony wants is greed. And that's why there's no Amazing Spider-Man 3. And while we're still moving on with Venom, Venom 2, Morbius, other spin-off stuff, which I think they can do. I like Venom. I did my review. I like Venom. But my problem is that Sony is getting greedy. And that's why we could have had Amazing Spider-Man 3, maybe even 4 by now, if they had not been greedy and said, oh, we didn't make enough money, the money we wanted off it. We wanted this much money or more. We didn't make that, so it failed. So we got to go a different route so we can make more money. Despite the fact that by making a deal with Marvel, they're not making as much money as they would have had they just done Amazing Spider-Man 3. So in the long run, their scheme to make more money isn't making them any more money than they would have. And making them any more money than they would have had they just stuck with Amazing Spider-Man 3. This is just my opinion, by the way. But yeah, Sony is all about the greed. They want to make more money. And, I think they did just fine with Amazing Spider-Man 2. It could have continued. But it didn't. People say that Amazing Spider-Man 2 is the worst one. I'm sorry. Spider-Man 3 is worse. I've rewatched Amazing Spider-Man 2 recently. It's on TV or something. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Yes, there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, but that happens. It happens with Spider-Man 3, and I don't think Spider-Man 3 is that bad either. The Venom stuff really kind of ruins it for me. And I'm going off on a tangent, I know, and I'm sorry. But I just had to say this about Sony because their greed ruined their Amazing Spider-Man franchise. I'm just saying, they could continue with that. I was all on board for it. They left us with a hook at the end, and now we're never going to get a conclusion to that because they were greedy. Back to Spider-Man Homecoming. Casting Michael Keaton to play the role of the Vulture was brilliant. He's great in this. And I think that's one of the reasons why they talk about Adrian Toomes over Darren Cross is because of the performances. Corey Stoll is great, but it's Michael freaking Keaton. You want to get nuts? Pfft, let's get nuts. We'll get nuts. Come on. Come on. Nothing beats Michael Keaton. In my opinion, he's a great choice. And like I say, he's a great villain. He's a very down-to-earth villain, just like Darren Cross. I'm going to defend Darren Cross till I go blue in the face. Okay? Because I think he's a great villain. He's underrated in my opinion. And deserves more than he gets when it comes to recognition. Because has almost the same cause as Vulture. Except for he's not doing it to make money for his family. He's doing it just to make money. That's the difference. He's greedy, like Sony. But he's still underrated. I think he's, sadistic in his ways. But back to Spider-Man Homecoming, this is what I'm reviewing. I think the idea to put Spider-Man in high school was a good idea. But they utilize it. They do. But there's a lot of, I don't know. I really don't know. But, I guess they do utilize it pretty good. The high school setting, the homecoming dance, him having to leave and fight the Vulture, Here's my problem. The timeline is really confused. Happy says they're moving everything from Avengers Tower to the new facility, which was established in 2015. This is now, came out in 2017, but I think this is only a few months after Avengers 2.0, you can call it, Civil War. So it'll be still 2016. So it could be happening at the same time as Doctor Strange, if you think about it. So maybe that's why Doctor Strange didn't appear in this one, but it could be a nice cameo popping out of the thing where he's swinging by, But anyway, so this takes place in 2016, but the new Avengers facility was established in 2015. I could see with everything that happened going on in Civil War, it could have taken a while to get everything moved around. So now I'm saying this, I guess it makes more sense, but just that, I don't know. You think that they would have had everything moved in by the end of 2015 if that was the case, you know what I mean? I don't know. People that rob the bank wearing Avengers masks, I guess it's a good Easter egg, but why would you wear Avengers masks to rob a bank? I don't know, but they're using alien technology, Chitauri technology, which you think that they had better tabs on. I know they show that they stole it, but they have better tabs on. I don't know. The final fight, there's a scene that's taken right from the comic books where Spider-Man, come on, Spider-Man. He's pushing up that big block that crash sounds from the comics. That's great. My problem is, people have problems with the fact that the suit is more Iron Man than Spider-Man. You don't understand. They were setting this up from the beginning for Spider-Man to be the one to take over for Iron Man. Spider-Man is going to be like the new head of this because, you get, I'm just saying. I'm not going to ruin it, but they were setting up for Spider-Man to take over for Iron Man. And then Sony saw this and like, nope, we want our guy back, and that was going to ruin everything going forward. Greed, once again, I'm not going to get into that, but man, I got itch. I shade and it itchy. But yeah, they were setting up from the beginning, starting with this. And I like the suit. And I like Karen. And I like the fact that they don't reference her again. Karen is the AI, by the way. And they don't reference her again after this movie, which is kind of... I don't like the Iron Spider suit that they show up at the end, and then he wears it in Infinity War. I don't like that one. That's going a little too far. Yes, I know it's from the comics, but they should have given it to Amadeus Cho like the comics. But he wears it. And one, it's not the same suit because they kept the colors. But that one could have taken away. I don't like the fact that he takes away the spider suit, so he has to wear the Homemade spider suit that looks like Ben Reilly's spider suit, the human spider. I don't like that. The whole climax, he wears that suit and not the one he's supposed to be wearing. I don't like that. That kind of just throws me off. Like, I understand the statement Tony was trying to make. The suit doesn't make the man. But, because he had to learn that his way. The suit doesn't make the man, even though they kind of retconned it. But I don't like that he takes away his suit and he has to wear that raggedy homemade one for the climax. He's Spider-Man. He should wear the actual Spider-Man suit for a fight against the Vulture. Think about it. How cool would it have been he's fighting the Vulture wearing the actual Spider-Man suit and not that raggedy thing? It takes me away from the bat. Takes me out of the battle because I'm watching him going, no, that's not right. That's just not. You look at all the climactic battles in the Spider-Man movies. The battle with Green Goblin. Battle with Doc Ock. The battle with the Sandman and Venom. You know, you look at battle with the Lizard. Even the battle with the Green Goblin and Electro in Amazing Spider-Man. All those battles, while they're not all good, he's wearing his actual suit and he looks good doing it. Here, you have him fighting in this raggedy homemade thing. And it's not the same. It always takes me out because there's just no... He should be fighting in the actual Spider-Man suit, not this thing. I understand the statement they were trying to make with he's Spider-Man no matter what suit he wears. It doesn't look right. I'm rambling too on. I'm running on too much. The whole Sony thing took me out. But this movie is pretty good. I like the hook at the end where he gets the suit back and then he takes the mask off. Behind him is Aunt May. And because it's Disney, they can't, what the fuck? And it cuts and it starts going, hey, oh, let's go. Hey, oh. I like that song too. I like it says I had a Jimmy Neutron movie soundtrack and that was on there. I like that song. Also, it was before that, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. I'm old. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. That was on there. I need a Pro Skater again. But yeah, and then you get the mid-credit scene, like I already mentioned it, I guess. Favorite line? Oh, shit. Do a flip Spider-Man? I don't know. Maybe the Aunt May, what the fuck? Could be one of my favorite lines. There's not really one in here that stands out to me, I guess. Are you really friends with Peter Parker? I guess could be one. I don't know. I guess there's not really one big line. There was one thing I want to talk about first. So, in Civil War, they say that Tony and Pepper are on a break. That they're basically broken up. I think this was because they were unsure if Gwyneth Paltrow was going to be able to come back. They were unsure of her future. And then they got her to come back, and that just confuses everything, especially since it's supposed to be a few months after Civil War, where they're supposedly broken up, and now they're just hunky-dory with each other. Like, when I first watched it, I figured, okay, it takes place in 2017. But no, this is 2016. So not only... That even takes away from what I said earlier about 8 years. It's actually 4 years since the Battle of New York in 2012. So that even makes things more confusing. And so now that confuses what's going on in Civil War, take place a few months earlier than this, where they were completely broken up. And now they're on speaking terms, and he's ready to propose to her in front of people. It's a little weird when you think about, because it's very obvious that they didn't know her status, so they were going to write it off as they just broke up. And they weren't sure she was going to come back again. And then when they got her to come back again, they brought the relationship back, but it messes up the continuity between films, if you think about it. I don't know. It's very confusing. Obviously, they were leaning towards what's going on with Infinity War and Endgame. So obviously they had a plan, and they just continued it, but it messes up the continuity between movies. It's very confusing. Anyway, Spider-Man Homecoming for me, it's going to get an 8 out of 10. An 8 out of 10. There's some problems I have with it, but very little problems. Knocks down by 2, 8 out of 10. I do like Far From Home better, so that's why I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. So, what are your thoughts on Spider-Man Homecoming? Let me know in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.